My best friend refused to come home early from vacation to be at her dying daughter's bedside after a suicide attempt. So I documented everything and made sure she lost custody. Today, she's lurking outside her daughter's new home in disguise. My best friend Reagan had always dreamed of being a mother. That's the crazy thing. Ever since we were teenagers, she'd constantly talk about what kind of mom she'd be and how many kids she'd have. So when Lily was born, Reagan was over the moon, and I was just as happy. I'd never seen her glow so bright. Our daughters, Lily and my Emma, grew up together like sisters, spending weekends and holidays at each other's houses. Fast forward 15 years. Reagan asked if I could watch Lily for a week while she took a solo vacation to Bali. It wasn't unusual. Reagan liked her breaks, and Lily practically lived at my house anyway. The first 2 days were fine. Typical teen stuff, Netflix marathons, junk food, all of that. But on day 3, things took a turn. At dinner, I called Lily down from her room, but she didn't answer. Emma said she hadn't seen Lily since lunch, and a weird feeling settled in my stomach. I walked upstairs, knocked on her door, but got nothing. I tried opening the door, but it was locked. Lily never locked her door. Something was off. I grabbed the key from the hallway drawer and opened the door, my heart pounding. Lily was lying on her bed, barely breathing, surrounded by empty med bottles and a folded note. My vision blurred as I dialed 911. Emma stood frozen behind me, crying, asking what was happening, but I couldn't find the words. Everything happened fast. The ambulance arrived, and I was answering questions from EMTs while frantically texting a neighbor to watch Emma. On the ambulance ride, I called Reagan. She was still at the resort. Through choking sobs, I told her what happened, but instead of sounding even remotely worried, Reagan hesitated, then said, "Is it really that serious? Maybe she just wanted attention." I felt my stomach drop. My head spun in disbelief. At the hospital, the doctor explained Lily needed her stomach pumped. I texted Reagan immediately. Surely now she'd realize how serious it was. But Reagan's next message knocked the wind out of me. "Changing flights is $200. It's expensive. Plus, you don't have to go to the hospital every day. That's literally what nurses are for." I stared at my phone, my blood boiling. I wanted to scream, but I knew Lily needed me more than Reagan's drama right now. I took off work, used my vacation days, and spent 3 straight nights in the hospital chair beside Lily's bed. One night, she told me she thought Reagan didn't love her anymore. She asked why her mom wasn't coming back for her. I didn't know how to respond. I just hugged her, feeling a wave of anger in my chest. Throughout all this, I sent Reagan constant updates, photos, and texts, but each response I got back was shorter, colder. Meanwhile, she posted beach selfies, captioning, "Living my best life." It hit me then that the Reagan I knew, the devoted mom she always claimed to be, had completely vanished. When Lily was discharged, I prepared a safe, comforting room for her at my place. I tried countless times to talk to Reagan about the situation, but she brushed it off every time. Reagan finally showed up at my house, a full day after landing, deeply tanned and relaxed. She gave Lily an awkward half hug, then immediately asked about the luggage she'd left before vacation. As I explained Lily's recovery plan, Reagan's eyes darkened, her jaw tightening with every word. Suddenly, Reagan snapped. She stood up, accusing me of parenting her child behind her back. Her voice got louder, and she started shouting about me overstepping boundaries and blowing things out of proportion. "It was probably just for attention," she spat. That's when I heard a choked sob from the hallway. Lily stood frozen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Reagan barely glanced at her daughter. My heart pounded. "Are you kidding me?" I shouted. I yelled at Reagan that she chose the beach over her dying daughter, but Reagan just scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Teens are dramatic. You should have known better." That was it. I snapped and unloaded everything. I told her she was selfish, that she'd consistently put herself first, that Lily's life was apparently only worth $200 to her. Reagan's voice lowered, venomous and cold. "You don't understand what it's like needing a break from your kids." At that exact moment, something between us shattered completely. I saw who Reagan really was, and I knew instantly our friendship was beyond repair. Reagan grabbed Lily's bag and demanded she leave, but Lily locked herself in my bathroom, sobbing uncontrollably, refusing to go. And that's when Reagan lost it. She began yelling, accusing me of kidnapping her daughter, and before I knew it, her phone was out, and she was calling the police. The sirens arrived within minutes, their red and blue lights painting my living room walls in alternating flashes. I stood at the window, watching 2 officers step out of their patrol car, while Reagan paced behind me, her phone still clutched in her hand. "They're here," she announced, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Now we'll see who's really in the wrong." I opened the door before they could knock. The officers, a younger woman with dark hair pulled back and an older man with graying temples, introduced themselves as Officers Chen and Martinez. Reagan pushed past me, immediately launching into her story. "This woman is keeping my daughter against her will," Reagan declared, gesturing wildly. "My daughter Lily is only 15, and she's refusing to let her come home with me. I have custody. This is kidnapping." Officer Chen pulled out a notepad while Officer Martinez looked between us. I forced myself to stay calm, even as my hands trembled. "Ma'am, can you explain the situation from your perspective?" Officer Chen asked me. I took a deep breath and started from the beginning. I explained about watching Lily for the week, finding her after the attempt, the hospital stay, and Reagan's absence. But Reagan kept interrupting, twisting every detail. "She's exaggerating," Reagan cut in. "Teenagers do these things for attention. I had a pre-planned vacation that I couldn't cancel. She's making it sound worse than it was." The officers exchanged glances. Officer Martinez walked toward the hallway where Lily had locked herself in the bathroom. He knocked gently. "Lily, this is Officer Martinez. Can you come out and talk to us?" There was silence for a long moment before we heard the lock click. Lily emerged, her face red and puffy from crying. She wouldn't look at any of us, just stared at the floor. "Lily, your mother says you need to come home," Officer Chen said gently. "Is there a reason you don't want to go?" Lily's shoulders shook. She opened her mouth and closed it again. Reagan stepped forward. "She's been manipulated," Reagan said quickly. "This woman has been filling her head with lies about me being a bad mother. Of course she's confused." I watched Lily shrink further into herself. The officers looked uncomfortable, clearly unsure how to handle the situation. Without concrete evidence of abuse or immediate danger, they seemed inclined to side with the parent. "Lily, I'm sorry, but legally we need to return you to your mother's custody," Officer Martinez said. "If there are issues at home, there are proper channels to address them." Lily's head snapped up, panic flooding her features. She looked at me desperately. But what could I do? Reagan was her legal guardian. The system was working exactly as Reagan knew it would. Reagan grabbed Lily's bag from where it sat by the door. "Come on, Lily, we're going home." Lily moved like she was walking through quicksand. At the door, she turned back to look at me one last time. The devastation in her eyes made my chest chest ache. I'll check on you, I called out, but Reagan's sharp laugh cut through the air. I don't think so, she said. You've done enough damage. Stay away from my daughter. The officers followed them out, making sure the transfer happened smoothly. I stood in my doorway, watching Reagan march Lily to her car. Lily climbed into the passenger seat, her movements mechanical. Reagan slammed the door with unnecessary force. As they drove away, Officer Chen lingered on my porch. If you have concerns about the child's welfare, you can contact Child Protective Services, she said quietly. Document everything. I nodded numbly. The house felt eerily quiet without Lily's presence. Emma appeared at my side, having watched everything from the stairs. Mom, is Lily going to be okay? She asked, her voice small. I pulled her into a hug, wishing I had an answer. The next morning, my phone buzzed with texts from mutual friends. Reagan had already started her campaign. The messages ranged from confused to accusatory. Reagan says you tried to steal her daughter? What's this about you refusing to let Lily go home? I can't believe you would overstep like that. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Reagan had twisted the entire story, painting herself as the victim and me as some obsessed woman trying to steal her child. I tried calling a few friends to explain, but they'd already heard Reagan's version first. Some listened politely but remained skeptical. Others didn't answer at all. At work, I struggled to focus. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it might be Lily, but it was always another friend questioning my actions or cutting ties entirely. Reagan had been thorough, reaching out to everyone in our social circle. 3 days later, Emma came home from school looking shaken. She dropped her backpack by the door and slumped onto the couch. What's wrong? I asked, sitting beside her. Emma bit her lip. Lily's mom was at school today. My blood ran cold. What do you mean she was at school? She was waiting by my locker after last period. She said I need to stay away from Lily, that you're a bad influence and you're trying to break up their family. Emma's voice cracked. She said if I try to talk to Lily, she'll make sure we both get in trouble. Rage bubbled up inside me. Reagan was now targeting my daughter, trying to isolate Lily even from her closest friend. I grabbed my phone to call the school, but Emma stopped me. Mom, please, it'll just make things worse. Lily wasn't even at school today or yesterday. That night, I tried calling Lily's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent text after text, but they all showed as undelivered. Reagan had clearly taken her phone or blocked my number. I drove past Reagan's house twice that week, hoping to catch a glimpse of Lily, but the curtains were always drawn. Her car was in the driveway, so I knew they were home, but the house looked lifeless. Desperate, I remembered Reagan's mother lived across town. Maybe she could help. I'd always gotten along well with Mrs. de Patterson, and surely she'd be concerned about her granddaughter. I called her on a Thursday evening. She answered on the third ring, her voice warm and familiar. Mrs. Patterson, it's me. I need to talk to you about Lily. The warmth vanished instantly. I've already heard all about your behavior, she said coldly. Reagan told me everything. How you tried to turn Lily against her own mother. How you exaggerated a cry for attention into something serious. That's not what happened, I protested. Lily was in the hospital for 3 days. She could have died. Reagan said you're obsessed with her family, that you've always been jealous of her having a daughter first. Mrs. Patterson's voice grew harder. I think it's best if you leave my family alone. The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, feeling completely helpless. Reagan had poisoned everyone against me, even her own mother. 2 weeks passed with no word from Lily. Emma grew quieter, checking her phone constantly, hoping her friend might find a way to reach out. I'd started documenting everything, keeping a folder of screenshots, text messages, and a detailed timeline of events. But what good would it do if I couldn't even check on Lily? Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, Emma burst through the door after school, clutching a folded piece of paper. Mom! Mom! She was breathless, her eyes wide. I found this in my locker. She handed me the paper. It was written in Lily's handwriting, messy and clearly done in a hurry. Emma, please give this to your mom. I need help. My mom took my phone and won't let me leave the house. She keeps saying I embarrassed her and ruined her vacation. She won't talk to me except to yell. I don't know what to do. Please help me. Don't let her know you have this. L. My hands shook as I read it. Emma was already pulling out her phone. We have to help her, Emma said. Maybe we can— Wait, I said, thinking quickly. We need to be smart about this. If Reagan finds out we're communicating with Lily, she'll make things even worse. I made copies of the note, adding it to my documentation. Then I had Emma write a response, keeping it simple and safe. We'd find a way to help. She should stay strong. And if there was an emergency, she should call 911. Emma slipped the note into Lily's locker the next morning. For 3 days, nothing happened. Then another note appeared. This one was longer, more desperate. Lily described how Reagan had become increasingly hostile, alternating between ignoring her completely and launching into tirades about how Lily had ruined her life. She wasn't eating properly, wasn't sleeping. She felt like a prisoner in her own home. I knew we had to act, but carefully. I contacted a family lawyer for advice, showing him my documentation. He suggested reaching out to CPS, but warned that without physical abuse, it might not lead anywhere. Emma continued passing notes back and forth. Through them, we learned Reagan had told Lily that I'd abandoned her, that I didn't want her around anymore. The psychological manipulation was heartbreaking. Then Reagan discovered the notes. Emma came home from school on a Friday, white as a sheet. She knows, she whispered. Reagan knows about the notes. My phone rang almost immediately. Reagan's number. I answered, bracing myself. You just can't stop, can you? Reagan's voice was low and dangerous. I told you to stay away from my daughter. Reagan, I'm just trying to make sure she's okay. I'm filing a restraining order. She cut me off. Against you and your daughter. This is harassment. If either of you contact Lily again, I'll have you arrested. You can't do that. We haven't done anything wrong. Watch me. The venom in her voice made me shiver. I've already talked to my lawyer. Stay away from my family, or you'll regret it. She hung up. Within days, I was served with papers. Reagan had filed for a restraining order, claiming I was stalking and harassing her family. The accusations were wild, painting me as unhinged and obsessive. She'd twisted every interaction, every attempt to help Lily, into something sinister. My lawyer said we could fight it, but it would take time and money. Meanwhile, Lily remained trapped. That's when I remembered something Reagan had mentioned years ago. She had a sister, Catherine, who she'd cut off contact with. Reagan had always been vague about why, just saying they'd had a falling out. But maybe Catherine would be willing to help. It took some digging, but I found her on social media. Catherine lived 2 hours away. Her profile showed a woman who looked strikingly like Reagan, but with kinder eyes. I sent her a message, not expecting much. To my surprise, she responded within hours. I've been wondering when someone would finally see through Reagan's act. Her message read, "Can we talk?" We spoke on the phone that night. Catherine's story was eerily familiar. Reagan had always been manipulative, even as a child. Catherine had distanced herself after Reagan had spread lies about her to their family, nearly destroying Catherine's relationship with their parents. I tried to warn people, Catherine said. But Reagan's always been good at playing the victim. When I heard she had a daughter, my heart broke for that little girl. I told her everything. Unlike everyone else, Catherine believed me immediately. She'd seen Reagan's patterns before. There's a family reunion next month, Catherine said. Reagan will be there. She can't resist showing off to the family. If we time this right, we can expose her in front of everyone. It was risky, but it might be our only chance. Catherine and I spent weeks preparing. I organized all my documentation, the hospital records, the text messages showing Reagan's indifference, Lily's notes. Catherine reached out to other family members Reagan had wronged over the years, slowly building a network of support. The reunion was held at their aunt's house on a Saturday afternoon. Catherine had convinced me to come as her +1. When we arrived, Reagan was already there, holding court in the living room, laughing and chatting as if she didn't have a care in the world. She saw me first. Her face went white, then red with rage. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, standing up. "I invited her," Catherine said calmly, stepping beside me. "It's time everyone knew the truth about you, Reagan." "You have no right," Reagan started, but Catherine cut her off. "No, you have no right. You've hurt enough people." Catherine turned to the room full of relatives. "Everyone needs to hear what Reagan's been doing to her daughter." I pulled out my folder, my hands steady despite my racing heart. As I began to speak, showing the evidence, the room grew silent. Reagan tried to interrupt, to spin her version, but the documentation spoke for itself. "These are lies!" Reagan shouted. "She's obsessed with my family. She tried to steal my daughter." "Then explain this," I said, showing the text where she'd said changing flights was too expensive. "Or this," showing where she'd called nurses babysitters. "Or this," Lily's desperate note. The room erupted. Family members who'd been silent started speaking up, sharing their own experiences with Reagan's lies and manipulation. Her aunt mentioned money that had gone missing. A cousin talked about rumors Reagan had spread about her. Reagan's mask finally slipped completely. "You're all jealous," she screamed. "You've always been jealous of me. And you," she pointed at me. "You wanted to steal Lily because you could never be the mother I am." "What kind of mother leaves her daughter dying in a hospital to stay on vacation?" Catherine asked quietly. "She wasn't dying," Reagan shrieked. "She was being dramatic. She's always been dramatic, needing attention, ruining everything. Do you know how hard it is having a daughter who won't just be grateful, who makes everything about her pain and her problems? I needed that vacation. I deserved it after putting up with her for 15 years. The room went completely silent. Reagan seemed to realize what she'd just said, her face draining of color. "Did you just say," their grandmother spoke for the first time, her voice shaking with disgust, "that you resented your daughter for attempting sewer slide?" Reagan tried to backtrack, but the damage was done. She'd finally shown everyone who she really was. The grandmother's words hung in the air like a physical presence. Reagan's mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. For the first time since I'd known her, she had no quick retort, no smooth deflection. "I didn't mean it like that," Reagan finally managed, her voice cracking. "You're twisting my words. I was stressed, exhausted from dealing with your sewer slidal daughter," Catherine finished for her. "The daughter you left in a hospital bed while you posted beach selfies?" Reagan's eyes darted around the room, searching for an ally, but found only disgusted faces. Her uncle stood up from his armchair, his weathered face stern. "Reagan, I think you need to leave," he said quietly. "And I think you need to seriously reconsider how you're treating that child." "You can't kick me out!" Reagan's voice rose to a screech. "This is my family. You're all taking the word of this outsider over mine. We're taking the word of evidence," her cousin Sarah spoke up. "Those texts, Reagan, your own words." Reagan whirled on me, her face contorted with rage. "This is all your fault. You've poisoned them against me, just like you poisoned Lily." Before I could respond, Reagan lunged forward. Catherine stepped between us, but Reagan shoved past her, grabbing for my folder of documentation. Papers scattered across the floor as we struggled. Someone screamed. Hands pulled Reagan back, her uncle and two cousins restraining her as she thrashed. "Let me go," Reagan shrieked. "That's my private information. She has no right." "Reagan, stop," Catherine commanded. "You're only making this worse." Reagan went limp suddenly, then started sobbing. But even through my shock, I could see the calculation in her eyes. She was already planning her next move. "Fine," she said, shrugging off the hands holding her. "You want to believe her lies? Fine. But Lily is my daughter, mine, and none of you have any say in how I raise her." She stormed out, slamming the door so hard that a picture fell off the wall. The room remained silent for several moments before Reagan's grandmother slowly bent to help me gather the scattered papers. "I'm sorry you had to go through this," she said softly. "We should have seen it sooner. What matters now is helping Lily," Catherine said. "Reagan's going to retaliate. We need to be ready." She was right. By the time I got home that evening, my phone was flooded with messages. Reagan had gone nuclear on social media, posting a twisted version of events where her entire family had ambushed her, where I had manipulated them all. She tagged mutual friends, former coworkers, even people from our kids' school. Emma met me at the door, her face pale. "Mom, it's all over Instagram. Everyone's talking about it." I looked at her phone, my heart sinking. Reagan had posted photos from happier times, her and Lily smiling at birthday parties, family vacations, school events. The captions painted her as a devoted mother being torn from her child by jealous relatives and a vindictive friend. "The comments," Emma said quietly. "Look at the comments. People who didn't know the full story were rallying to Reagan's defense, calling me horrible names, saying I should be arrested for harassment. Some even suggested I was the reason Lily had attempted sewer slide, that I'd filled her head with negativity about her mother." My phone rang. "Catherine, have you seen what she's doing?" Catherine asked without preamble. "I'm looking at it now. She's already called my workplace, told them I'm unstable, that I attacked her at a family gathering. My boss wants to see me Monday morning." Catherine's voice was tight with controlled anger. "This is what she does. She destroys anyone who challenges her." That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's desperate face as Reagan dragged her away. Where was she now? Was she safe? The next morning brought fresh hell. A process server knocked on my door, delivering papers. Reagan wasn't just filing a restraining order anymore. She was suing me for defamation, emotional distress, and interference with parental rights. The dollar amount made my head spin. My lawyer reviewed the papers that afternoon, his expression grim. "She's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Most of this won't hold up in court, but defending against it will be expensive and time-consuming." "I don't care about the money," I said. "I care about Lily." "I understand, but Reagan knows that. She's trying to drain your resources, make you back down." Emma had been quiet all weekend, but Monday morning she came to me with determination in her eyes. "I want to go to the school counselor," she said. "Tell them about Lily. Maybe they can do something." "Emma, honey, Reagan might come after you too." "I don't care." Her voice was fierce. "Lily's my best friend. I can't can't just do nothing. I drove her to school, proud and terrified in equal measure. But when we arrived, the principal was waiting in the parking lot. I need to speak with you, she said, her expression carefully neutral. There's been a complaint. Reagan had struck us to it. She'd called the school, claiming I was encouraging Emma to spread lies about her family, that I was using my daughter to harass hers. The principal couldn't ban me from school property, but she strongly suggested I refrain from any involvement in school matters regarding Lily. Emma went to class but texted me at lunch. The counselor had said her hands were tied without direct evidence of abuse. Lily hadn't been to school in over a week now, but Reagan had provided doctor's notes claiming she was ill. That afternoon, I sat in my car outside the school, feeling helpless. Then I noticed a familiar car in the parking lot. Reagan's. She was here, probably spinning more lies, tightening her web of control. I was about to leave when I saw her exit the building, but she wasn't alone. A man walked beside her, tall, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. They stopped by her car, talking intently. Reagan gestured animatedly, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I took photos with my phone, zooming in as much as I could. The man handed Reagan some papers, which she signed. They shook hands, and he left in a separate car. Later, Catherine helped me identify him through some careful social media searching. He was a high-powered family lawyer known for aggressive custody battles and restraining orders. Reagan was escalating. The next few days blurred together. Reagan's social media campaign continued. She posted old videos of Lily as a happy child, with captions about how she was fighting to save her daughter from toxic influences. Support poured in from people who only knew her version. Meanwhile, my lawyer was costing me a fortune. My boss, initially understanding about my time off, was growing impatient. And worst of all, there was still no word from Lily. Then Emma made a discovery. Mom, she burst into my room one evening. I found Lily's old Instagram account, the one she used to use for art. She showed me the screen. The account had been inactive for months, but suddenly there was a new post. A simple black square with white text. I'm not okay. The post had been up for less than an hour. As we watched, it disappeared. She's trying to reach out, Emma said. Reagan must have found it and deleted it. We screenshotted everything, adding it to our growing pile of evidence. But it felt like trying to build a house of cards in a hurricane. Every move we made, Reagan countered with two of her own. Catherine called with bad news. 3 more family members have gotten threatening letters from Reagan's lawyer. She's claiming the whole family conspired against her at the reunion. My aunt is terrified. She's 72 years old, and now she's being threatened with a lawsuit. This is insane, I said. How can she get away with this? Because she knows most people will back down rather than fight. Legal battles are expensive and exhausting. She's counting on wearing us all down. But backing down meant abandoning Lily. That wasn't an option. I decided to try a different approach. If Reagan was monitoring all of Lily's online activities, maybe we could communicate another way. I remembered Lily mentioning a friend from art class, Mia, who Reagan didn't know well. Emma reached out to Mia carefully, explaining the situation. Mia was horrified but eager to help. She agreed to try to pass a message to Lily if she saw her. Days passed with no word. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, Mia texted Emma. She'd seen Lily at the grocery store with Reagan. Lily looked thin, exhausted, and wouldn't make eye contact. When Reagan went to another aisle, Mia approached Lily quickly. She started crying, Mia reported. She said her mom checks everything, her phone, her computer, even her school assignments. She's not allowed to leave the house except for errands with her mom. She wanted me to tell you she's trying to hang on. The message was heartbreaking, but also galvanizing. Lily was still fighting. We had to keep fighting too. That weekend, Catherine discovered something interesting. While researching Reagan's history, she found court records from another state. 15 years ago, before Lily was born, Reagan had been involved in a similar situation with a former roommate. Accusations of harassment, restraining orders, lawsuits, the pattern was identical. She's done this before, Catherine said. The roommate eventually dropped everything and moved away, but I tracked her down. She's willing to talk. The former roommate, Jessica, told a chilling story over video call. Reagan had seemed perfect at first. Charming, fun, generous. But when Jessica started dating someone Reagan disapproved of, everything changed. The manipulation, the lies, the legal threats, it all sounded horrifyingly familiar. I spent thousands in legal fees, Jessica said. Lost friends who believed her stories. In the end, I just ran. Started over in a new city. I always wondered if I should have fought harder, but I was young and scared. Would you be willing to provide a statement for our case? I asked. Jessica hesitated, then nodded. I've regretted running for years. Maybe this is my chance to make it right. We were building a case, slowly but surely. But Reagan wasn't sitting idle. The next Monday, Emma came home from school in tears. Someone had spray-painted "liar" on her locker. Security footage conveniently showed nothing. That camera had mysteriously malfunctioned over the weekend. Then my car tires were slashed while I was at the grocery store. No witnesses, no cameras covering that section of the parking lot. She's trying to intimidate us, my lawyer said, but without proof it's connected to her. Catherine faced her own harassment. Someone called her workplace repeatedly, making complaints. Dead flowers were left on her doorstep. Her social media was flooded with hateful messages from fake accounts. But the worst came when Child Protective Services showed up at my door. We received a complaint, the social worker explained. Allegations that you're emotionally abusing your daughter, forcing her to participate in harassing another family. I felt the blood drain from my face. Reagan was now trying to turn the tables, make me look like the unfit parent. The social worker interviewed Emma privately while I waited, my hands shaking. When they emerged, Emma's eyes were red, but her chin was raised defiantly. Your daughter is very articulate, the social worker said, and very clear about what's been happening. We'll need to follow up, but I don't see any immediate concerns. After she left, Emma hugged me tightly. I told her everything, Mom. About Lily, about Reagan, everything. You did great, honey. I'm so proud of you. But Reagan's attack had shaken me. She was willing to weaponize the very systems meant to protect children. How far would she go? The answer came 2 days later. I was leaving work when I noticed a car following me. It stayed several cars back, but took every turn I did. My heart racing, I drove to the police station instead of home. The car disappeared. When I got home, Emma was already there with Catherine. Their faces were grim. Lily's in the hospital, Catherine said. Reagan posted about it. Claims Lily had another attention-seeking episode and blames us for triggering it. I sank into a chair, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Is she okay? We don't know. Reagan's posting just enough to get sympathy, but not enough for anyone to know what really happened. We tried calling the hospital, but privacy laws meant they couldn't tell us anything. Reagan had likely made sure we weren't on any authorized contact lists. We have to do something, Emma said desperately. We can't just let her keep Lily isolated like this. Catherine's phone buzzed. She looked at it, her eyes wide. widening. It's my cousin at the hospital. She works in administration. She can't give us details, but she says we should come. Now, we raced to the hospital, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. What had happened? Was Lily okay? At the hospital, Catherine's cousin met us in the lobby. She couldn't violate HIPAA laws, but she could tell us that Lily had been admitted for mental health evaluation, and that Reagan was currently meeting with doctors. We waited in the lobby, unwilling to leave. Hours passed. Then, unexpectedly, a doctor approached us. Are you Lily's family? He asked. I'm her aunt, Catherine said quickly. This is a close family friend. The doctor looked troubled. I shouldn't be talking to you, but that young lady asked me to. She's quite insistent that her mother is lying about what happened. My heart leaped. Is she okay? Physically, yes, but she's made some serious allegations about her home situation. We're required to investigate, but her mother is resistant to our concerns. Before he could say more, Reagan appeared around the corner, her face contorted with rage when she saw us. Get out! She screamed. Get away from my daughter! Security! Ma'am, please calm down, the doctor said. Your daughter has specifically asked. My daughter is mentally ill! Reagan shrieked. These people have driven her to this. They're the reason she's here. Security arrived looking uncertain. Reagan was Lily's legal guardian, and we had no official right to be there. As we were escorted out, I heard the doctor say quietly to Reagan, we'll need to involve social services. Your daughter's allegations are serious. Reagan's response was venomous. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. How dare you believe a disturbed teenager over her mother? In the parking lot, we regrouped. This was a turning point. Lily had spoken up to medical professionals. There would be an official record now. Reagan's going to go scorched earth, Catherine predicted. We need to be ready. She was right. Within hours, Reagan had posted a rambling social media manifesto about the hospital trying to steal her daughter, about conspiracies against her, about how everyone was jealous of their bond. She announced she was pulling Lily out of the hospital against medical advice. My lawyer called within minutes. This is actually good for us. She's showing instability. Keep documenting everything. But I wasn't thinking about legal strategies. I was thinking about Lily, trapped with an increasingly unstable Reagan. That night, unable to sleep, I drove past Reagan's house. The lights were on, and I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Was Lily okay? Was she safe? As I sat there, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She's taking me away. I don't know where. Please don't stop fighting for me. My blood ran cold. I immediately forwarded the message to my lawyer and Catherine. If Reagan was planning to run with Lily. I called the police, but they said without evidence of immediate danger, there was nothing they could do. Reagan had custody. She could travel with her daughter. The next morning, Reagan's house was empty. Her car was gone. Neighbors reported seeing her loading suitcases in the middle of the night. She's running, Catherine said. She knows the walls are closing in. We mobilized quickly. Catherine reached out to every family member, asking them to watch for Reagan. I contacted the school, informing them of the situation. My lawyer began emergency proceedings for a welfare check. Emma was distraught. What if we never find them? What if Reagan hurts her? We'll find them, I promised, praying I was right. The break came from an unexpected source. The grocery store clerk who'd seen Lily with Reagan called Emma's friend Mia. She'd overheard Reagan on the phone booking a rental cabin 2 hours north. It wasn't much, but it was a lead. Catherine and I decided to drive up just to verify they were there. We'd be careful, not violate any restraining orders, just confirm their location for authorities. The cabin was isolated, surrounded by woods. Reagan's car was parked outside. We stayed back, observing from a distance, when we saw movement in the window. Lily, looking out. Our eyes met across the distance. She pressed her palm against the glass, and I saw her mouth the word, help. Then Reagan appeared, yanking her away from the window. The curtains snapped shut. We have to call the police, Catherine said, now. But as I reached for my phone, Reagan's front door flew open. She stood there, wild-eyed, something glinting in her hand. I knew you'd come, she screamed. I knew you couldn't leave us alone. She started toward us, and we scrambled back to our car. As we drove away, I called 911, reporting the situation, Reagan's unstable behavior, our concerns for Lily's safety. Units are on the way, the dispatcher assured me. We waited at a safe distance until we saw the police cars arrive. 2 officers approached the cabin while we watched, hearts pounding. Reagan must have seen them coming. She emerged with Lily, gripping her daughter's arm tightly. Even from a distance, we could see her animated gestures, no doubt spinning another story. But then Lily did something brave. She pulled away from Reagan and ran to the officers, gesturing frantically. Reagan tried to grab her, but one officer stepped between them. The conversation continued for what felt like hours. More police arrived, then an ambulance. Finally, one officer approached our car. The young lady has made some serious allegations. We're taking her for a medical evaluation and getting CPS emergency involved. The mother is not handling it well. We watched as Reagan was placed in a separate police car, still screaming about kidnapping and conspiracies. Lily was helped into the ambulance, a female officer staying with her. Can we see her? I asked. Not yet, but she asked me to tell you she's okay. She's ready to tell the truth about everything. As the emergency vehicles left, Catherine and I sat in stunned silence. It wasn't over. There would be investigations, court battles, more of Reagan's manipulations to face. But for the first time in weeks, Lily was safe from her mother's immediate control. My phone rang. Emma, desperate for news. She's safe, I told her. Lily's safe. Emma's sob of relief echoed my own feelings. We'd fought through Reagan's lies, manipulation, and intimidation. We'd faced lawsuits, harassment, and social destruction. But we'd never stopped fighting for Lily. The war wasn't over. Reagan would regroup, find new strategies, new ways to paint herself as the victim. But now Lily had found her voice. And with the truth finally being heard, Reagan's carefully constructed facade was crumbling. As we drove home, I thought about that teenage Reagan who'd dreamed of being a mother. Somewhere along the way, that dream had twisted into something toxic, possessive, destructive. But her daughter, brave, resilient Lily, had survived it, and we'd make sure she'd never have to face it alone again. The drive back from the cabin felt surreal. Catherine kept checking her rearview mirror, half expecting Reagan to somehow appear behind us. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Texts from Emma, my lawyer, even some of the family members from the reunion. We pulled into a gas station to regroup. Catherine filled up while I called my lawyer back. The police contacted me, he said immediately. Reagan's in custody for now, but that won't last. She'll make bail within hours. We need to move fast on emergency custody proceedings for Lily. What are our chances? Better now that Lily's spoken to authorities. But Reagan will fight this with everything she has. Catherine returned to the car, her face grim. My cousin at the hospital just texted. They're admitting Lily for a 72-hour psychiatric hold. Standard procedure given the circumstances. We drove straight to the hospital. The same doctor from before met us in the lobby, looking looking relieved to see us. She's asking for you both, he said. We can't discuss details, but I can tell you she's been very clear about her experiences. CPS is already involved. A social worker appeared, a different one from the woman who'd visited my house. She introduced herself as Ms. Rodriguez and asked if we could speak privately. Lily's disclosed some concerning information, she said carefully. We're opening an investigation. In the meantime, we need to establish a safety plan for when she's discharged. She can stay with me, I said immediately. Ms. Rodriguez shook her head. Given the restraining order Reagan filed, that's complicated. We're looking at emergency foster placement unless a blood relative can take her. Catherine leaned forward. I'm her aunt. I'll take her. The social worker made notes. We'll need to do a home study, background checks. It's a process, but given the circumstances, we can expedite it. My phone rang. Emma, frantic. Mom, Reagan's out. She just posted on Instagram. She's saying you and Catherine kidnapped Lily and brainwashed the police. I showed Catherine the post. Reagan had somehow managed to take a selfie at the police station, looking haggard but defiant. The caption was a rambling accusation about corruption, conspiracy, and jealous relatives trying to steal her baby. She's spiraling, Catherine said. This is good for our case. But I worried about what Reagan might do in her desperation. She'd already proven she'd cross any line. We weren't allowed to see Lily that day. Too many protocols, too much paperwork. But the nurse assured us she was stable and had eaten dinner. Small victories. The next morning brought chaos. Reagan had hired a new lawyer, not the family attorney from before, but someone known for taking controversial cases. He'd already filed motions to have Lily immediately returned to Reagan's custody, claiming kidnapping and conspiracy. My lawyer called an emergency meeting. She's also filed criminal charges against you and Catherine. False imprisonment, conspiracy to kidnap, intentional infliction of emotional distress. It's all nonsense, but we need to respond. Catherine slammed her hand on the table. She can't keep getting away with this. She's not, the lawyer said. Every move she makes is being documented. The judge will see the pattern. That afternoon, Jessica, Reagan's former roommate, flew in from Colorado. She decided to testify in person about Reagan's past behavior. We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. I've been carrying guilt for 15 years, Jessica said. I knew she'd do this to someone else. I should have fought harder, warned people. You were young and scared, I said. What matters is you're here now. Jessica pulled out a thick folder. I kept everything, every threatening letter, every legal document, even recordings of her voicemails. My therapist said it might help me process someday. I guess today's that day. Catherine's phone buzzed, a text from her cousin at the hospital. Reagan had shown up, demanding to see Lily. Security had to escort her out when she became belligerent. She's getting more desperate, Catherine said. The emergency custody hearing was scheduled for the next morning. That night, I couldn't sleep. Emma stayed up with me, both of us anxious about what would happen. What if the judge believes Reagan? Emma asked. We have truth on our side, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. The courthouse was packed. Reagan had mobilized her remaining supporters, a handful of people who still believed her version of events. But our side was larger. Catherine's family had shown up in force. Several of Lily's teachers were there. Even Mia and her mother had come to support us. Reagan entered like she was walking a red carpet, dressed impeccably, her new lawyer at her side. She made eye contact with me and smiled coldly. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes, called the hearing to order. Reagan's lawyer went first, painting a picture of a devoted mother whose mentally ill daughter had been manipulated by jealous relatives and a possessive family friend. Then our lawyer presented our case, the documentation, the text messages, Jessica's testimony about Reagan's past, the hospital records, Lily's own words to the authorities. Reagan couldn't contain herself. She kept interrupting, despite her lawyer's attempts to quiet her. When the judge warned her about contempt, Reagan stood up. This is my daughter, she shouted. These people have poisoned her against me. They've always been jealous of our bond. The judge's gavel came down hard. Ms. Reagan, you will control yourself or be removed from this courtroom. But Reagan was beyond control. She pointed at me, her face twisted with rage. She wanted my life. She wanted my daughter. She planned this from the beginning. Security moved toward her. Reagan's lawyer tried to intervene, but she shoved him aside. Lily is mine, she screamed. I gave birth to her. I own her. She doesn't get to choose. The judge ordered Reagan removed. As security escorted her out, she was still screaming about ownership and betrayal. Her lawyer looked defeated. The judge took a recess. When we reconvened, Reagan's chair was empty. Her lawyer made a weak attempt to continue, but the damage was done. I've reviewed all the evidence, the judge said, and witnessed Ms. Reagan's behavior firsthand. I'm granting emergency temporary custody to Catherine Patterson, pending a full investigation by Child Protective Services. Relief flooded through me. Catherine grabbed my hand, squeezing tight. Behind us, I heard Emma let out a sob of relief, but the judge wasn't finished. I'm also lifting the restraining order against you, she said, looking at me. It's clear it was filed in bad faith. However, I want to make it clear. Lily's well-being comes first. Any decisions about her living situation will be made by CPS and her appointed guardian. We left the courthouse in a daze. Reagan was nowhere to be seen, but her car was still in the parking lot. Her lawyer was on his phone, looking frustrated. Catherine drove us to the hospital. With the custody order in hand, we were finally allowed to see Lily. She was sitting up in bed, drawing in a sketchbook. When she saw us, she dropped everything and ran into Catherine's arms. Is it over? She asked, her voice muffled against Catherine's shoulder. The hearing's over, Catherine said carefully. You're coming home with me when the doctors say you're ready. Lily pulled back, looking at me. What about my mom? I chose my words carefully. She's going to get help. Right now, we're focused on making sure you're safe and healthy. Lily nodded slowly. She showed up yesterday, told the nurses I was lying about everything. When they wouldn't let her see me, she started screaming about lawsuits. She paused. It was actually kind of a relief. They all saw what she's really like. We spent an hour with Lily, carefully avoiding heavy topics. She showed us her drawings, abstract pieces that seemed to capture her emotional journey. Emma would be allowed to visit tomorrow, which brightened Lily's spirits considerably. As we left, Ms. Rodriguez intercepted us. Reagan's been making threats, she said quietly. Nothing specific enough for arrest, but concerning. We're recommending a security plan for when Lily's discharged. That night, Reagan's social media went dark. All her accounts disappeared. It should have been reassuring, but it made me nervous. Reagan didn't retreat. She regrouped. The next day, while Emma visited Lily at the hospital, I helped Catherine prepare her house. We set up the guest room, bought groceries, tried to make everything as welcoming as possible. Catherine's phone rang, her elderly aunt, voice shaking. Reagan just left here. She was asking for money, saying she needed it for a new lawyer. When I said no, she became nasty, accused me of betraying her. We called the lawyer immediately. He advised documenting everything and varying our routines. Reagan was becoming unpredictable. That evening, Listening, my phone rang from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. You think you've won. Reagan's voice was different, flat, emotionless. But this isn't over. I know judges. I know lawyers. I'll get her back. Reagan, you need help. I need my daughter, and I'll do whatever it takes. The line went dead. I reported the call immediately. The police took a report but said without a direct threat, their hands were tied. Lily was discharged the next morning. Catherine and I picked her up together, both of us scanning the parking lot nervously, but there was no sign of Reagan. Lily was quiet on the drive to Catherine's house. When we arrived, she stood in the driveway for a moment, just breathing. It feels different, she said softly, safer. The first few days were an adjustment. Lily jumped at every car door slam, checked locks obsessively. Catherine was patient, giving her space while making sure she felt supported. Emma visited daily after school. Watching them together, doing homework, laughing at videos, just being teenagers, reminded me what we were fighting for. Then Reagan surfaced again. Catherine's neighbor called. Someone had been sitting in a car outside the house for hours. By the time police arrived, the car was gone, but the neighbor had taken photos. It was Reagan, wearing sunglasses and a hat, but unmistakably her. The restraining order Catherine filed was granted immediately, but paper didn't feel like much protection against Reagan's escalating behavior. The next week brought a new development. Reagan's mother, Mrs. Patterson, reached out to Catherine. She wanted to meet, to apologize, to understand what had really happened. We met at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant downtown. Mrs. Patterson looked older than I remembered, worn down by recent events. I believed her, she said, tears in her eyes. My own daughter, and I believed every lie. Even when things didn't add up, I made excuses. She pulled out her phone, showing us text messages from Reagan, demands for money, threats when refused, accusations that everyone had turned against her. She needs help, Mrs. Patterson said, but she won't accept it. She's convinced everyone else is the problem. What about Lily? Catherine asked. Do you want to see her? Mrs. Patterson nodded eagerly. If she'll have me. I understand if she doesn't trust me. I failed her when she needed family most. We arranged a meeting at Catherine's house. Lily was nervous but agreed. The reunion was tentative at first, but when Mrs. Patterson apologized, really apologized, taking responsibility for not seeing the truth, something shifted. I should have known, Mrs. Patterson said. The way Reagan talked about you, even as a baby, like you were a possession, not a person. I thought it was just new mother intensity. Lily listened, processing. I used to think it was my fault, that if I was a better daughter, she'd love me the way other moms love their kids. Oh, sweetheart, Mrs. Patterson pulled her into a hug. None of this was ever your fault. Progress came slowly. Lily started therapy. Catherine enrolled her in a new school to fresh start. Emma remained her constant, their friendship stronger for having weathered the storm. Reagan's harassment continued but became less direct. Fake social media accounts spreading lies. Anonymous letters to Catherine's employer. Complaints filed with various agencies, all dismissed but time-consuming to address. Then came the final custody hearing. 3 months after that night at the cabin, we were back in court. Reagan had a new lawyer again, her fourth. She'd lost weight, her designer clothes replaced with conservative suits meant to project stability. The courtroom was packed again. This time, the evidence was overwhelming. Lily's therapist testified about the emotional abuse. Teachers described the change in Lily since leaving Reagan's care. Ms. Rodriguez presented her investigation findings. When Lily herself took the stand, the courtroom was silent. She spoke clearly, describing years of manipulation, control, and emotional neglect. She talked about the vacation, the hospital, the isolation that followed. I love my mom, Lily said, looking directly at Reagan, but I'm scared of her. She doesn't see me as a person, just something she owns. Reagan's mask slipped. For just a moment, rage flashed across her face before her lawyer touched her arm, reminding her the judge was watching. The judge's decision was swift. Permanent custody to Catherine. Supervised visitation only if Reagan completed therapy and parenting classes. A permanent restraining order protecting Lily, Catherine, Emma, and me. Reagan stood up slowly. This isn't over, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, but she shook him off, walking out with her head high. But I saw her hands shaking. Outside the courthouse, our group celebrated quietly. Lily hugged everyone, tears streaming down her face, but they were tears of relief. Is it really over? She asked. Catherine kissed her forehead. The legal part is, the healing part, that's just beginning. 6 months later, life had found a new rhythm. Lily thrived at her new school, her art gaining recognition. Emma and she remained inseparable. Catherine had become the mother figure Lily always deserved. Reagan had disappeared after the final hearing. Some said she'd moved out of state. Others claimed she was still around, watching, waiting. Her social media remained dark. I still checked my rearview mirror more than necessary. Still felt my heart race when unknown numbers called. The trauma of those months didn't just vanish with a court order. But watching Lily laugh with Emma, seeing her confidence grow, making plans for college, it had all been worth it. She'd survived. We all had. The last time I saw Reagan was at a grocery store, almost a year after everything began. She was thinner, her hair different, but I knew her instantly. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she turned and walked away, leaving her half-full cart behind. I stood there shaking, waiting for confrontation that never came. When I finally made it to my car, I called Catherine. She's still here, I said. I know, Catherine replied. Lily saw her outside the art supply store last week, just watching. What do? We keep living, keep protecting Lily, keep documenting everything. Catherine paused. She lost, but people like Reagan don't accept defeat. They just wait for another opportunity. It wasn't the closure I'd wanted. No neat ending where Reagan got help and became the mother Lily deserved. No reconciliation or growth, just an uneasy truce, always watching for the next move. But Lily was safe, loved, free to be herself without fear of her mother's reaction. She had Catherine, her grandmother, Emma, and me. A real family, chosen and fought for. Some nights I still dream about that hospital room, about Reagan choosing the beach over her dying daughter. I wake up angry all over again. But then I remember Lily's art show last month, how she glowed with pride, surrounded by people who truly loved her. Reagan had tried to destroy everyone who challenged her. She'd wielded lawsuits and lies like weapons, turned systems meant to protect children into tools of control. She'd very nearly won. But love, real love, not the possessive obsession Reagan called love, was stronger. It made us fight when giving up would have been easier. It brought together strangers like Jessica and family like Catherine. It gave Lily the courage to speak her truth. The war might not be over. Reagan might still be out there, planning her next move. But for now, Lily was healing, living, thriving, and that was victory enough.